happy that we have two highly respected members of Congress, Congressman Anthony Bravo. Of course, his participation is given because he also represents NATTCO Partylist. You know, in NATTCO, of course, when we talk about social enterprises, that's really very close to our hearts because cooperatives could be considered as social enterprises. But of course, according to the version of the proposed measure, in fact, I see the possibility that not necessarily all cooperatives can be covered. They have to undergo certain screening process so that they will be classified and categorized as social enterprises according to the social enterprise concept. I'm happy also that Congresswoman Virginia Tan is my past history Of course, I did not to convince the people from the advocacy group coming from the Institute for Social Entrepreneurship in Asia, from the Ateneo University, Dr. Campo. Of course, we have also Peter here, and of course, in BCSI, we have the people around. Now, how I wish to have the chair of the Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship could have been around because he's supposed to be the driver, in the pursuit of this proposed measure. But I believe that we have a good number of members of Congress who are convinced, in fact, about social enterprises. I think the way I see it, the most challenging part is, first is how to convince the Department of Finance, how to convince the Bureau of Internal Revenue, because we are asking incentives in this proposed mission, and we will always find it distasteful on our part. So, of course, we need, a very strong lobby group, and also we need to, alam mo kasi yung dynamics dito sa Kongreso, yung una, we really to get the support of the leadership of the House. I'm one of the co-authors of highly controversial bills in this House, like FOI, like the completion of the land acquisition and distribution up to 2016, and then here comes the social enterprise bill. So it's a very challenging, really, on our part. But we need really more pressure coming from the advocacy group. Continuous yung advocacy, continuous yung lobbying. And it took us how many? In fact, it took us almost 10 years to lobby just to get the passage of the Cooperative Code of the Philippines, Republic Act 9520, in which the most important provision is tax exemptions. Allergic yung governor's tax exemptions. Yeah. Now, since my part is really to discuss the salient features or provisions of House Bill 1331, which was filed, meron ba tayong taga dito sa Committee on Small Business? Ikaw, Madam? We filed this bill last July 2013. Mas maganda itong diretsuhan na kasi nandito yung July 10. Kailan ba ito makalindar natin? Mas magandang ganyan na ang usapan, di ba? Kasi nandito na yung... dito ka, Madam. Upo ka dito kasi you are in the firing squad. Yes. So, ang tanong ngayon sa principal author, there are three authors here. Myself, si Congressman Bravo, at saka si Congressman Dili Bakilat, because he also represents a very important organization, that's PRRE. No? So, siya din yung nag-support. So, there are a lot of people in this house that are really pushing for this issue. So, mga kailan kaya, Madam, makuha natin ito?
Good afternoon, everyone. I have discussed with the chairman about this bill, and he said he will calendar it on the first quarter of 2015. So the earliest would be, we look at the calendar, the legislative calendar, and since Congress will resume again sometime in January 16, so he said we can schedule it like maybe on the first week of February for the initial deliberation, and
can I make a counter proposal? First week of December.
First week of December.
Yes.
Next week.
First week.
Next week.
Yes.
And, you know, to organize a meeting, sir, we need about 2 weeks lead time to do all the preparation.
Anyway, only first deliberation, just to for sponsorship purposes. Hindi na kailangan yung first sponsorship just to introduce the bill for initial deliberation, then the rest will follow. Because while the iron is hot, let's sure that everybody is focused on it. So sponsorship na lang. Kung mamaya nandito si Congressman Montijo, baka sabihan ko na siya. Kasi ang kailangan dito is sponsorship, tapos we will ask the institute to explain to the members of the committee. Then the next round is we will invite government agencies who will be affected, who will be involved, like the Department of Finance, the BIR, the DTI, yun. That will take time because they need to make a position paper. Di ba? Yan. Yan, baka yon ang first week mo sa 2015. But I think before we will adjourn for the Christmas break, baka meron tayong sponsorship muna.
Sir, I will appreciate it if you will talk to the chairman of the committee so that, between colleagues.
Yeah, I talked to him already last time. Pero sometimes, congressmen are very busy. Malilimutan nila. Pero kung ang secretariat nga, sir, may kalenda na tayo, sir. Nagpatawag na committee. Tapos. So, nandyan sa mga kamay mo. Di ba? Sabihin mo nga, okay, follow up ko kay Congressman Montijo. Tapos, maghanap ka na lang ng room. Kasi importante naman natin dito is room. Di ba?
I have a slot on the second week of December.
Yan. Second week, wala tayong slot sa first week.
We have another meeting on Mondays, which is already December 1st.
Second week.
Yeah.
So, ano ang calendar ng second week?
Tuesday, sir.
Tuesday. So, Tuesday,
If you can talk to him.
Yeah, I will. Kung hindi ko pa kaya, dito mas
That will be 9th.
December 9. So, I wish to inform everybody around that our next, for the first deliberation ever in a committee on a small business will be on December 9. That's good news for our visitor from Korea. Did you know that he came over to find out when will this be calendar? He came over all the way from Korea.
Okay, sir.
So okay na yan. So December 9. Rain or shine, ha? Okay. Now, before I will introduce the salient provisions, we had the opportunity this morning to engage the media together with Dr. G. Go Kim as well as Dr. Takanay. And, you know, there are very interesting questions raised by them. One is, with the social enterprise bill, which will be passed into law, how many jobs will be generated? Magandang tanong yun. So, guys, you please prepare this, do our research. So, how many jobs will be generated? I said, my indicative figure is 3 million. Yeah, but we can improve that. Maybe it could be higher, no? Not lower. Not lower. Then the next question is, what is the difference of this social enterprise measure that you are proposing in relation to the conditional cash transfer, which is the flagship of the government in the fight against poverty? So that's the second question. There are other questions, but you know, Lisa can remember them. But of course, next question is, do you think that you will be able to pass this bill since you are asking too much from the government? The fact that they will be tax exempt and therefore the government will be deprived of generating resources, which is valid question. So, of course, we have to prepare ourselves. The most challenging part is when this bill will enter the plenary, because that's where the debate is. In the committee level, medyo madali lang yan, especially those who would be against it will not be present during the committee hearing. So we can easily pass it without the opposition, di ba? So we will see to it that those who don't like the bill will not be able to attend. Normally, we already identify that. So I'm going to check with the members of the Committee on Small Business kung ano ang kanila. But I think we can pass around sa kanila pa for their signature as co-author. Maybe, ma'am, if we can prepare that, because this is one good strategy. Sometimes congressmen just sign without reading it, and then the next time around that they would like to oppose, say, oh, you are a co-author. You are a co-author. So, gagawin natin yun. Uunahin natin yung members ng committee. Ma'am, yung members ng committee, can you supply us with the list?
Yes, sir. I will. I don't have on hand.
Yeah, that's right. Because we will ask them to co-author.
Yes, sir.
To co-author. Okay. The title of this measure is An Act Ordaining the Promotion of Social Enterprises to Alleviate Poverty, Establishing for the Purpose the Poverty Reduction through Social Entrepreneurship Program, and Providing Incentives and Benefits therefore. You would notice that we emphasize poverty reduction because this is a tax. So kung sabihin ng gobyerno, naku, policy incentives naman ang hinihingi ninyo, ang ating weapon dito against that argument is that this is for poverty reduction. So you have to give it to us what is good for the poor. This is the balancing act. You want to get more from us, from the government? Yes, but of course, we will help the poor, poverty reduction. Now, in House Bill number 1331, actually, the statement of policy of the state is about 1 page. So it's highly elaborate description of the policy of the state, but you would see it that it is focused on what has been explained by Lisa a while ago, that this is all about poverty reduction, no more or no less. If you are an enterprise, but you are not within that particular framework of poverty reduction, you are out of the box. Simply, it's like that. If you want for poverty reduction, you are inside the box, then therefore, you are entitled to policy incentives. Ganon ang atin. After all, it's enshrined in the Constitution that it is the policy of the state to see to it that there is prosperity, and at the same time, we'll be able to free the poor from deprivation, as mentioned a while ago. So it is about to ensure that the provision for technical and financial assistance, incentive services will be provided, and it's going to be free from any condition that might infringe upon the autonomy of organizational integrity of the social entrepreneurship movement, which will be instrumental in reducing poverty in the country. Maybe one, baka ganito nang gawin natin, Madam, sa Committee on Small Business. Baka magustuhan ito ni Chairman. Sabihin ko din sa kanya kung nandiyan siya mamaya. Baka we will propose to the leadership that there will be special mission that will go to South Korea. Because they are advanced. We will learn from you. Would you entertain us there? We will have a congressional mission to go to South Korea. But of course not at the expense of the Korean government. Baka we can organize. Baka magustuhan niyan sa ating chairman. No? Maybe when will be the best time, I think?
I think it's as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
The sooner is the better.
If it is going to be as soon as possible, then that will be at the expense of your because it will take us time to convince the leadership. Will you do that?
At your expense?
No, but I think we don't have enough budget.
Maybe the airfare will be ours, but the accommodation can be handled by you. Maybe I don't know. We can work it out, because a bill such like this requires really the internalization, the immersion of the members of the committee, really to do understand, so that they could be also champions, not only the authors or the co-authors. So we will organize one. Of course, with the participation of the Ateneo, our attached university.
Mr. Congressman, can I just back
Sure.
into the discussion? Maybe we can also request the Korean International Korea Overseas International Cooperation Agency, if it is possible for them to, in some way support a congressional mission. Let me add, Mr. Congressman, congressional and private sector mission. Okay.
President Coalition.
The present coalition. By the way, that connection,
Congressional and advocates, social enterprise advocates.
That's right.
Advocacy group.
In fact, last week we just had a delegation from Korean universities who attended the National Social Enterprise Conference and also a 3-day training workshop on social enterprise incubation program of universities, and there were participants from Korea. We paid for their travel, Mr. Congressman, but I'm not suggesting that Ateneo will pay for...
Really? Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So perhaps next year, first quarter, I think that's the best time, maybe towards March. You know, our session will be up to March 24, 23. Yeah. So before we adjourn. So March, first week or second week of March. Well, what do you think, Dr. King?
As for our institution, we have held annual international conference, but it will be held in the early July. So I think it's too late. But if it early July,
Yeah.
but if you want to be the international conference on the early July, March. But in March, maybe the COICA could subsidy the private sector, but I could ask the Korean congressman to invite you.
Yeah.
It would be cooperation between Philippine and Korean congressman. Yeah.
Okay, that would be the right approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an not necessarily interparliamentary relationship, but we can work out. We can work out the way. Okay, so first we have already agreed upon the next committee hearing, and then another educational exposure program to South Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me continue. Section 4 is about the concept, and this was highly described and elaborated by Dr. Lisa Lacanay. So that's also provided for. Okay, next. Then we have about eligibility of social enterprises under the proposed measure, and you have it there in your kit. If you have the kit, there's a lot there. That's where's that in section 5? Huh?
Page 7, sir.
Section 5, and also section 5 qualifications, also section 7. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 insofar as benefits and incentives, and as to qualifications, we have also in section 7. Section 5, that's eligibility. Yeah. Then can we go to the next? Then section 8, that's about formulation of a poverty reduction through social entrepreneurship. By the way, this has been crafted or drafted by FECCI together with the institute. It's a group, So this is an effort of the private sector. We were just asked to file this bill, so they are in a position to elaborate if there are questions. Now, next, what's the next? Social Enterprise Development Council. We would like that there will be an attached agency to the DTI, the Department of Trade and Industry, and the council will be composed of, the Secretary of Agriculture, the NAPSI, the DSWD, NADA, DIFG, DOLE, the OST, Education, Commission, Agrarian Reform, Health, DNR, for CDA, and also representatives from the social enterprises. Will be coming from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and 3 representatives from the social enterprise service institutions, and 3 representatives from the social enterprise advocacy group as members. So that's the composition of the Social Enterprise Development Council. Then it's also in the proposed measure, the powers and functions of that council, that is Section 10. Section 10, you have that. And of course, since members of the council are busy people, and they are more on policy formulation and planning, so we need to have a very strong secretariat. Then therefore, there will be an office. So kailangan dito, may budget ito, may appropriations ito. And Section 13, meron bang Section 13 dyan wala. Sa Section 13, merong National Center for Social Enterprise Development. No? Ito yung organization that will provide a capability building for the social enterprise, and it will handle the research and development, and will undertake or manage the social enterprise marketing assistance program. So para mga social enterprises will be supported by this body, saying to it that they will be linked to the market. Because as explained, social enterprises will be also serve also as a market-driven institutions. No? Now, we have also Section 15, the role of LGUs in social enterprise development. You know, ang maganda dito sa provision sa local government units is that if in their local development plan will include social enterprise development, the council will provide special support to these LGUs. Will provide special support, including funding. No? So this would attract LGUs to participate in the program. And then, of course, we have also the creation of a development fund. Meron ba dyan? Wala pa.
Section 16.
Section 16 is the creation of a development fund. We are looking at a figure of 3 billion peso, which will be sourced from PAGCOR and also other JFIs. Ito madugo ito eh. Madugo ito because we have really to engage them, no? But this is not a one-time infusion. But this can go in a certain period, depending on the ability of the concerned JFIs to set aside a portion of their surplus as mandated by the law. Then we have also Section 19, special credit window, and here we are asking JFIs like Land Bank, Development Bank, Coastal Bank, Al-Amana Bank to set aside at least 8% of their loan portfolio to be utilized for supporting the social enterprise program. Then we have also Section 17, Social Enterprise Research and Development System. Section 18, Social Enterprise Marketing Infrastructure Development. To my mind, this is somehow similar to the Tourism Industry Infrastructure Program. Even it is not a concern of the Department of Tourism to appropriate budget for infrastructure, but because it is part of the industry infrastructure program, then therefore DOT, Department of Tourism, becomes a lead agency to pause for that, the development on infrastructure. This is similar, the way I see it, this Section 18, but of course, it's going to be DTI as the lead agency and together with the support of DOTC. Then, Section 19, that's the special credit window. We have here outlined on page 13. And we would like also to make use of Republic Act 1000, otherwise known as the Agri-Agra Reform Credit Act of 2009, to also set aside certain percentage, at least 10%, to be used as a funding source for the social enterprises. And Section 23, the PDTF, this is managed by People's Credit Corporation. The PDTF, there is an funder, which is an extension institution of the Land Bank of the Philippines. And Section 24, this is about tax exemptions. It's described here. And also preferential rights. It's also described here. And in fact, we have also Section 26, incentives for social investors. And of course, one interesting provision is the penalty clause. You can be sent to prison if you violate. So imprisonment of not less than 6 months, but not more than 2 years, or a fine not less than 25,000 pesos, but not more than 50,000. That can be imposed upon a person, corporation, government entity, or agency who intentionally or by gross negligence fails to provide the benefits, rights, and incentives granted to social enterprises in violation of this act. You don't have that kind of, do you have that kind of provision in South Korea? Penalty clause?
Yeah. So, in the Social Enterprise Promotion Act includes minimum penalty clause, but nowadays the Korean Congress also debate over the new Frame Act for the social economy, and the opposition party's proposal contained lots of the penalty clause, but they also make stress on the government subsidy and support from the civil sectors. So they have the more right, the more penalty clause.
So while we are giving them the rights, the incentives, therefore there is also corresponding penalties in case of violations. I think that's all. Section 32 is about the program in government, then applicability of other laws, then we have the final provisions. Anyway, you have in your kit this proposed measure. This is the initial draft, but of course we can come up with a good version that's doable, that's practical, taking into consideration the conditions obtaining in the social enterprise sector in our country. So maraming salamat.